So what I'm actually just going to do on these, I'm going to take away the high end so that I've got some room for these to sit in there. So these are going to be, let's have a little listen to these when I do this. So these are those low end. So the other thing as well is when you obviously take away the high end from the percussion loops, it sends it further back in the mix, and this is where the depth is coming from. You're pushing it far back in the mix, therefore, you know, it's really giving it that depth and just sort of dynamic 3D sort of sound to it. Great, so make sure this is saved. So these loops, just have a little listen back to these. It's also going to sound a little bit better as well once I start to sit them better in the mix. I mean, obviously now I'm just listening and checking that they work and stuff in the track. There's still no sidechain on them, so once I add the sidechain on, for example, that's going to... So this one obviously isn't in key either anymore, so... Okay, cool. So again, convert to new sampler track. Okay. If, for example, you go to convert to new sampler track and you find that it's just one solid bar of MIDI all the way across, that's generally because you haven't ticked the transient markers when you go to create a new sampler track. So just be aware of that. Yeah, okay, cool. So let's get this low end out again. That one. So obviously as well, what I can do here is I can maybe just get the first bar, duplicate this. So going back to what I did before, I'm just going to actually humanize it again. So MIDI transform, humanize. Don't want a thingy. I'll do the same as before actually, select and operate. So that sounds cool. Okay, so again, it's a bit stop and starty, so I'm just going to... Might not need to add any reverb to this one. I'll just have a little listen because it sounds like it's quite... Bring this down. Okay, yeah, it's definitely something doesn't sound right in there, so... Transpose it. I think it's this one. This one as well. So in this last one, I'm just going to go in, just give it a bit of variation really. Sounding cool. So that one's sitting nice low down and further back. Then this one, sitting on top of it. Sounding nice. Okay, cool. So it's long. So again, going to be pushing this across to the side. This one's a little bit harsh sounding, so I'm going to add a little bit of chorus to it. Let's try the reverb off it. Cool. Let's try and get this other one in there, and then I'm going to have a little mix with them and see how they sound. So a little listen with this. Change this as well. So convert to new sample track. As I said before, regions there, create zones from regions. That's probably, if that's clicked, that's where you're going to get the one whole piece of MIDI for your whole sample, and you're not going to be able to move it around and stuff. So transient markers, that's what I as well. That loop was sounding a bit off, is because I didn't go in and I hadn't changed it back to the percussion bus, so it wasn't gelling pretty well with it. Sorry, that's. I'm going to delete that into this stereo output bus 28. Again, always just a little bit of stereo delay, just to start off with really, and then I'll bring it back if I feel that it's needed. Reverb. Volume down. So again, I want to be making sure that the volumes are sort of level, but first off I want to make sure they're in the same sort of frequency band. So this one on the right you can hear is higher up the frequency. So make sure the volumes here are roughly correct. So it's a bit off. So I'm just gonna just using my ears for this, basically listening to the loop and listening to which ones I feel don't sound like they're sitting properly in the mix. No, don't want to be doing that. this one's got a clap in it as well, so. What you also want to be checking as well is that the overall volume of all of the percussion together, you know, is sitting left and right nicely. So I'm not going to be adding any compression or anything like that, because I want them to bounce around. I want it to have groove, you know. If everything's just all the same sort of levels all the time, it just sounds flat and boxy in my ears. So I like to, you know, keep things nice and groovy. This one does need the chorus back on. This one also could do with a bit of chorus. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come in as well and show you here. So if I just... going to cut away any of this sort of stuff down here. Making sure that it's got room for my kick. I don't want to be cutting too high though. I want that nice low end drive in the mid, so that's too much obviously. This one needs the reverb back on as well. And what I'm going to do on the whole bus is I'm going to give this high-end percussion some room to breathe. So I'm just going to, on the mid-range, I'm just going to take away some of the high end, and it's just going to allow these to cut through and sound a bit clearer. Listen to the reference track. Bit too much high end on this one, I feel. It's got a bit of a harsh sound to it. Let's have a little listen to this side chain and see what we want to do here. So I've got a side chain here looking after the low end frequency, but I feel that the whole thing needs a little bit of groove as well. So that one's got the split on it. It's a low cut. To side chain the low end. And what I want to do with this one is this is going to be side chaining the whole thing and giving it a bit of groove. If you listen back here when I'm turning it on and off, you'll hear the way that it sits differently in the mix. It just seems to gel together a little bit better. So with it off. gives it a nice bouncy feel. Just making sure that this is still recording. Okay, so now we have this percussion sort of drive and stuff like that. As I said before, I want to go in and I want to start to add a bit more, make it a bit more unique, obviously, in different areas of the track and stuff. So what you'll find here is I've got what I class as a percussion hit channel, and you'll notice there's some random hits. These are going to be changed, but the reason for this is what I do is I come in and I just go to percussion hits. So these are just random hits. You can find them from any pack. Again, just different loop hits, random hits on their own. These positions here are going to get changed and stuff, but let me just change the velocity. So if I was to just play the ones that are already randomly playing with this loop, you can hear that obviously some of them are out of key, they're not really working with each other. But what I'm just going to do is I'm going to be using to just create a little bit more like uniqueness to the loops. So to do that, I'm going to add on a tape delay. So the tape delay is going to give that what almost gives it sort of like an echo. So, and then I'm going to add in some reverb, but the reverb that I'm going to add is going to be different for this sort of stuff. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use Space Designer, and I'm going to go warped effects, textures. Let's just pick a random one of these, returning surge. So what this is just like a bit of a crazy sort of reverb. It's